2020 was one of the best years for horror games in recent times, it providing big hitters like the Resident Evil 3 remake and some indie gems such as Vultures, which came out after about 900 years in early access and only like 5 people played. Well, however, it was arguably the year of multiplayer horror over anything else, with Phasmophobia dominating attention on Steam charts, along with games like In Silence doing much of the same thing. Now though, it's time to look forward to some of the new horror games of 2021 and the fresh ways developers will make you brown your pants. Although it's early days as we type this up, things are shaping up pretty nicely for horror in 2021. From early access graduates to long in the making spooks, it's shaping up to be a stellar year, and there's plenty more to be announced. With the dawn of new consoles, the mind boggles over what developers will be able to conjure over the coming years in terms of scares and horror. Here then are the biggest new horror games of 2021 for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One and Switch. God, that's so hard to say all of them at once for you to look forward to. Because 2021 is likely to be as big a shit show as Resident Evil 6. These release dates are subject to change, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a comment down below and then we're going to do our best to update that over time. What are you looking forward to over the course of 2021 in terms of horror? Be sure to let us know down below. And also leave your blood type and what scares you the most for no particular reason. The Medium. Delayed out of its initial 2020 birth, The Medium is a seemingly timed exclusive for the Xbox family that looks to make full use of the new tech by allowing players to switch between 2 different worlds. Kind of like Rift Apart, but much less whimsical. Players control a medium, funnily enough, who must travel between reality and the spirit world to solve a mystery. Bloober have become known as the masters of modern horror without arguably ever creating a true horror classic, so here's hoping The Medium can become that in early 2021. While we're here, play Layers of Fear 2. I don't feel like anyone played that game. Did you? I don't feel like anyone did. Little Nightmares 2, which is due to launch this February. That's the scariest thing about this, trying to pronounce February. The original Little Nightmares was a brilliant surprise in the horror genre, pitting you as a young girl, 6, against Ray Harryhausen-esque abominations who are trying to eat you aboard a demented cruise ship. Now that's a pretty good pitch. The sequel looks to build on those terrors, with 6 returning, but new protagonist Mono at the helm instead. As the pair make their way to the signal tower to try and save 6's life, you better believe some uglies will get in their way. If you haven't played the original, you can pick it up at a very agreeable price these days, which also includes the DLC. Back 4 Blood is hoping not to be left for dead in the release window this June. The team behind the original Left 4 Dead, Steam's premier co-op zombie shooter, announced in 2019 that they would be coming back to produce a spiritual successor with WB Games on publishing duties. In 2021, that game comes to life with bigger and badder zombies than we've ever seen in an undead squad shooter. Turtle Rock Studios were also behind the much reviled Evolve, which promised much before sinking without a trace. I mean, do you remember Evolve? Let me know. It looks like they're going back to their roots with Back 4 Blood, which is being billed as a AAA experience. We've seen a lot of Left 4 Dead imitators over the years, and I mean a lot, so it'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out. The Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes hopes to burn it all down later in 2021. Following on from the pretty iffy Man of Medan and actually quite good Little Hope, House of Ashes is the 3rd entry in the Dark Pictures anthology from Supermassive Games, whose best game to date remains Until Dawn. That's an amazing horror game, but it's about time they topped it. 5 years later, House of Ashes follows members of the US military, including Ashley Tisdale, as they encounter Sumerian myth come to life in Iraq during the War on Terror. You can already see the twist coming a mile away, so here's hoping Supermassive swerve the obvious and actually commit to the scares this time out. Also, if the Ashley Tisdale is getting work in 2021, maybe there's hope for all of us yet. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 releases sometime maybe this year, maybe. We're a little concerned about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, to be honest with you, and not because we have to keep saying its name over and over again. Creative names have been dropping off the project like flies, and substantial delays along with unflattering trailers have made us think it may be as beleaguered as the cult original. But if all goes well, we could be looking at one of the deepest horror RPGs in history, complete with branching storylines and paths, as well as an inviting world of darkness to explore and be consumed by. Rise up the vampire ranks sometime in 2021. Hopefully. Maybe. Probably not. Resident Evil Village releases sometime in 2021, and I'm never going to call it that. It's Resident Evil 8. Easily the biggest horror game of 2021 just by virtue of being a Resident Evil game. Resident Evil Village is a significant departure from the formula, though it does seem to be pretty close to Resident Evil 7 in terms of gameplay. The big difference comes from the enemies you will face. Werewolves, the moulded of Resident Evil 7, were a change, sure, though they had a fair amount in common with the iconic zombies Resident Evil built its name on, because, well, they were dumb as shit. Resident Evil Village could represent the biggest change in the mainline game since, well, the last game, proving that this isn't a series that wants to play it safe anymore. By the way, pretty much the whole plot has been leaked online, so watch out for that when you Google why Chris Redfield has no neck. System Shock Remake might shock us all and actually release in 2021. It's been a very tumultuous development period for the System Shock Remake since Night Dive acquired the rights in 2012, with it being due for release a few times already, the first time being during 2017. Following a successful Kickstarter, the remake was opened up to more possible platforms, which really just seems to have sunk it. The original game was a landmark title, though not many people knew it at the time. Set aboard a space station, you play as a hacker who must escape with everything and everyone going to hell around him. While it's penciled in for some time soon, we sadly wouldn't be surprised to see this get delayed again. Honestly, maybe even a cancellation. Dying Light 2 might release before 2077. Listen, right, we'll stop talking about Dying Light around these parts when people play it the amount it deserves. A follow-up to one of the best open world games of its generation, Dying Light 2 has a far bigger sense of scale, with your choices really mattering in regards to the story and the fortunes of the city too. Away from that though, expect the same brilliant parkour and zombie chopping action that has made Dying Light such a fan favourite. Also, while we have you here, go play Dying Light. You may as well know that Dying Light 2 has been seriously delayed and there hasn't been anything heard about it in ages and everyone is leaving it and oh god, I'm panicking. The best things come to those who wait, right? Right? Scorn will be born sometime in 2021. It feels like we've been talking about Scorn for years when it comes to these new horror game lists, often alongside Agony due to the pair's unsettling, uncompromising imagery. While Agony released and was about as fun as punching yourself in the weird demon cock, Ebb Software have been taking their time with Scorn and the updates have been pretty scattered. Still, just from the glimpses of gameplay we've seen, this could be one of the most unsettling horror experiences out there, whenever it releases, of course. Time will tell if there's more to this game than some pretty discomforting visuals, but we've already seen a little bit of gameplay and it's pretty polarizing. Scorn also appears to be a timed console exclusive for the Xbox family, so PlayStation fans may have to jump onto their PCs. Atomic Heart hopes to make a nuclear impression sometime in 2021. Atomic Heart made a huge impact when its first trailer released out of nowhere. Its madcap mix of macabre visuals putting it on the map of plenty of horror fans. Mundfish have been hard at work on the game ever since, with fleeting sightings of it since. But this first-person shooter set in an alternate Soviet reality is going to have to go really far out of its way to waste its potential. Bioshock and Metro fans might love this one, but it also might not come out this year. The Outlast Trials sees the Outlast series trying something new. A co-op experience set in the Outlast universe, the Outlast Trials isn't a direct continuation of the series, more a spin-off set during the Cold War in which 3 players can team up to escape some horrific trials. Little is known about the game apart from that it's going to have a whole heap of gore and some unforgettably gruesome moments, but with this being the newest co-op horror game in a long line of them within the genre, could it be pointing at a sign of things to come for horror in the future? It seems like a lot of multiplayer horror games are getting announced, and not as many single player as they used to be. That's pretty interesting. Sons of the Forest asks if we're winning Sun sometime in 2021. Very little is known about Sons of the Forest, so much so that we have very little to say about it. Apart from the briefest of glimpses at the Game Awards 2019 and a couple of action scenes shared with IGN, there's really been nothing to go off in terms of what the game will be like. Based on those teasers, we can confirm that it definitely looks like a scary game with some multiplayer elements. Considering the previous game involved searching for your son, maybe that's a big hint as to what this sequel's name is about. It's all kind of pointless though if I can't do a kickflip in a turtle shell, so don't let me down, End Night Games, that's all I want this year. And finally, Frictional have a little secret for you. If you're wondering what Frictional have been up to since the excellent Soma, they've been deep in development on 2 new properties. One that we now know was Amnesia Rebirth, and the other has yet to be revealed. Heck, it may not even be horror. Regardless, whenever Frictional release a new game, you have to sit up and pay attention, as they always inspire other developers for years to come. And while Rebirth may not have been their most universally beloved game, it still had plenty of fascinating ideas. Watch them release a sequel to Hello Kitty Cruisers and it be the scariest game ever made. I mean, personally speaking, Hello Kitty is pretty terrifying anyway. What's behind those eyes? There's nothing there. It's just white and darkness. There's no feeling, there's no emotion, there's nothing. There's nothing. So that was our list for the new horror games of 2021 you should be keeping an eye out for. Let us know which you're looking forward to playing the most, and thank you for watching. If you could like and subscribe, that would help us out just an absolute ton. And remember, play The Evil Within 2, it deserves better.